Hey guys, Capricorn King here, coming to you with the knowledge, hopefully sufficient amount of knowledge, in order to induce a conducive state into your lifestyle so that you can steer the ship, not just through your own volition, or the volition of something higher, of God. But what is God? A lot of connotations attached to that word. This is what I'm going to get into. Not just that, what God is, but also kind of a double topic video. Why are we suffering? Why? It's not implicit. It's not something intrinsic within us. That is an implicit thing. We're not born with it. Suffering. But this is the thing. Let's jump right in. Why do we suffer? And then I'll get on to the topic. I'll lightly brush along it what God actually may be or is, even though that's not quite comprehensible or fathomable to the degree of the capacity and the faculty of the mind of which we've been born with, which is innate within us. But I can certainly try to delineate some form of something. So the first thing, why do we suffer? Well, for one, we're suffering because we hold on to things. That we have attachments, right? We have attachments. But the thing is, these attachments to things are an effect and a symptom of certain residual that's been instilled in us of what we're not. We've been inferiorized. We've been taught and conditioned that we are insignificant, and that our insignificance starts to, what it does to us, it subdues us and oppresses. The indomitable, which means not able to be subdued, essence of the soul. But because that's been layered over, glazed over, we're masquerading that. And what we've done is identified with what's masquerading that. We've identified with that. Okay? So we're no longer in that converged state of congruent flow anymore. We're not in that state anymore. We've lost our way. We've deviated. We've fallen. It says in the scriptures, doesn't it? We have fallen from grace. Grace means God. The higher essence in which we're animate of. Okay? That's what we are. That's indomitable. That cannot be subdued. It's impossible. But it's reverting back to the alignment of that congruency, of the soul, of the energy of that and that essence. But the thing is, we're in a state where we have not, it can be self-induced and occluded within us to block it, so that it's not transmutatable and it becomes invariant and stagnated. Okay? We do that to ourselves, but first you've got to recognise the problem and know that it's not you, in contrast with the essence of the soul. Know what the essence of the soul is first, and then you'll be able to see that your problems are not yours. They never were. They call it exogenous influence. It's been externally influenced, but the exterior then implies the in. So what they've done is it's like an inversion. When I say they, it's like there is other beings here, or sadists. They're sadistic. They don't do things for like what a human ego would do. Like wants to contract things for a transient form of credibility, to validate itself, because it feels in a state of deprivation. But to be in deprivation, that would have to be something that prerequisited that stage for you to feel like that anyway. What did that? This is the questions. Why do we have an agenda behind this, an economy that just uses exploitative sources? That's all we're used for, as a form of fuel. So something's feeding off this low vibratory, dense state of being that we're residing in. And what it's doing is it's ricocheting and reverberating into others, because it's a magnetic field, and that oscillates and it oscillates. That's what a thought form is. It's energy, it's magnetism. Electrodes, like the centrifugal force within us from a dielectric plane, which infers the magnetism, and it's like a toroidal field. When that's not in alignment, and it's not in its capacity or its fluidity, it affects other people, and it can affect the way they think. It can only affect them if they are not fortified from the Spirit of God, the higher essence. But if not, it will introject, and it will affect them, and it will have an inimical effect on the person or people that surround you. So whatever you emanate, that is rippling and affecting so many other people, and we're all doing that. Most of society, in the condensity of the economy, everybody's rippling these thoughts, so they're just oscillating between each other, and everybody hates each other. But this is not a derivative from us, because the origin of us, the origin, the whole, is not us. Because that's just God. So where have they come from? Again, something influences it, but you can only contract that and then be like constricted with that frequency if you are already on a vibratory level which reciprocates that essence. If you've done no inner work and any meditative work, or you're not a spiritual practitioner where you're always invoking that higher essence within you pragmatically, then you will not be fortified against these things. You'll always be susceptible and a victim to it. Always. So you've got to be careful, you've got to fortify yourself. But what I'm saying is, for them to be there in the first place, we wouldn't generate that kind of, all we know is love. That's the omniscience, is the heart. Something's merged with us, nothing goes against us. There's nothing opposing us, it merges with you. The sexual thoughts, hatred, animosity, all these things, degradation, all these thoughts of disapproval are a reflection of your inner state, because the environment is you. What's out there is a neurological experience, a sensory stimulated experience of certain vibratory forms that are all constituent and create one experience simultaneously. but they're all just an illumination of a projected illusion. But you've got to go back in to know that is out. So you've got to know why you perceive things the way you do, to know why it is out there. But something has done this. Again, we do not generate such animosity. We can't do that from our hearts. From our hearts, all that is love that emanates from there. That's all. That's the only thing. That's our origin. So something has definitely playing us. So then we substitute our sovereign state of being, which is love. We substitute that in exchange. Well, it's not an exchange, because you can't exchange who you are. It just becomes subdued, and then it's in amnesia. It falls into dormancy and into that chasm. But all it needs is resuscitating and re-eliciting. But right now, when I look around most society, it's not. At the moment, it seems very invariant, which means not transmutatable just yet. And those people like us, they call us light workers. We're like, God sent us. We could say it like this: God sent us here as light workers. There's a lot of us now because we're getting the message. Prophesizing. There's more of us, sending more of these souls in here, because end times are imminent, and I don't know how it's going to end. It might be completely chaotic, and those people like us light workers, more come in to try and we come in to try, or not try. You either do or you don't. So we've come in to reconverge it so it's centered. So more of us come in, the worse it gets. But things have to reach a terminal phase before it's a catalytic transition into a higher resonance. It has to get at its very worst, because then it can't go any further and it can only go back up. Well, I'm not speaking directions here, the illusion, longitude and latitude, it's all illusion. I'm just meaning the frequency gets higher, speaking in terms of energy here. So let's stick to the topic, okay? Suffering. We're suffering, but we don't have to. And the thing is, also what perpetuates the suffering is that it is consistent. Whatever agenda is behind this is using us in some way, but it's not other than us. It's a part of us to learn more of what we are. Just like I said, when we reach a terminal chaotic phase, that is happening in us. And there's no out there, there's no exterior, it's complete illusion. But I think God's playing a game with itself to know more of what it is. It's like a phase, an intervallic phase wave, to know more of what it is through what it's not, and it contrasts. I don't know. I just get a feeling that's what's going on. But the illusion is that consistent, that we think it's the actuality, and it's not at all. And if you start to go back and revert back to spiritual practices, meditation, chanting, even praying, you're not externalizing yourself. Religion's very misinterpreted. I've misinterpreted it before, because you think that it's externalizing who you are as a sovereign being, revered and postulated to something like other than what you are, and it's not. You're basically capitulating, which means giving in the ego to the higher self, to the higher form of what you are, which can't be thought of. It's just a feeling, it's an essence. It's what animates and illuminates this illusion through a sensory experience. It's experiencing itself in a finite version of what it is to learn more from itself. But at the moment we're in a phase where it's chaotic. People really fucking hate each other. I feel it. When I walk into town, I feel it. I am super sensitive. Super. I'm not desensitized, so I'm not comfortable with that resonance. That's why I've sent here, to see this, to feel like it's not right. So something needs to be said and done. That's why I'm doing these videos, to entice. Some people might be suffering and surfing the YouTube, surfing the web. Hopefully you get enticed by videos like this, and it resuscitates the true essence of what you are back out, back within to be without, so you can reciprocate a better resonance than what's the current state you're in. But people that hate each other, it's not each other that they're hating, it's within themselves. Because even the light, the sun that illuminates this, is a reflection of us. It's an imitation of what we are, and it's a part of your chakra system, which constitutes your whole carbonized subatomic body of what this is, this hologram. They're a part of it, the chakras, and that's within you. It's implicit within you, the sun. Well, that's being messed with also. All these things are just varying forms of orbs and lights and planes that are all a part of you, the layers within you. You see the star, the 7 layers of what you are. The 7 layers, they have to be aligned to open up. Again, there has to be a conduit for the higher realms that are at the moment inconceivable to the degree of what this can do, the brain. But the heart knows it. It's in the heart. Breathe. The breath implies this realm. Without breath there is no being, and to be is where it all comes from. That reinitiates the conduit of what you are. We're thinking too much, and they have augmented this, which means amplified this, the thinking, because all these feelings are just thoughts. And it is impeding the flow of the heart to just be in that omniscient state. All what I'm saying might sound jumbled, but it all correlates. There's many things going off. A lot of esoteric deep knowledge. You can say it in any way, or you can say it in simplistic form, and it'd be so assimilable, where you just click and you understand it all of a sudden. You don't need to know about the planetary systems. It just helps to know more of what you are, and that you're not insignificant and inferior, that you are what this realm is doing. You are what it is doing. To be this realm is to be the body. The body is the realm. It's just another embodiment, like I said, of sensory experience in which you are the one doing. Take my message. Let it resonate with your heart. Like right now I'm sat here in a flat, and there's people playing very low vibratory music. Everywhere I live I get somebody just like that living right above or next to me. It's a test to see. It's like you're being tested or trialed, however you want to call it. I don't care anymore, but they're doing it. It happens of itself for you to learn more about the self, so that you no longer just react as a reflex reaction, which sympathizes with that energy, which will reciprocate that energy back onto me. It all depends how you respond of a higher resonance. That I could just react to that and then precipitate this angry state that only induces a detrimental state on me, and then could be for that person, when it's all one source. You see how they're inverting it back in, they're inverting the chaos into itself to destroy itself. and something's feeding off this. There's something feeding off that energy of that happening. It's like one big game, and we're the pawns in the centre. But you got to realise that you don't have to move. You don't have to be used. You can stay centred. You can stay aligned and converged. This doesn't have to happen. Now, let me get on to what God is. God is not some personified, archetypical concoction of what the ego's done. The symptom of the ego is not that. You didn't create yourself, you're the created. You're a symptom, a subordinate, sorry about the camera, you're a subordinate effect of something higher. What is that higher? You didn't create that higher. Yes, you're an effect of it. So there's got to be some, it's a sophisticated design, there's got to be some kind of thing, a prelude into what you are now. It's got to the origin of that has got to be something beyond what you think you are. But the ego wants to know that it created itself. It wants to think it's itself and doing itself for what it is. It's not. It's involuntary. So God for me is that. When the Muslims pray to Allah, Allah just means God, the love of God, the one, monotheism. They all advocate it. Why? Because it's one source in which we're all from. That's what it means. It's been completely misinterpreted because there's so many connotations and attributions to what that is, because we're trying to operate and perceive it through the mind that is its own adversary. So someone saying, oh, there's one God, we're going to automatic reflex, oh, I'm not in reverence to anybody other than my own ego. Well, your ego, actually, you are actually prostrated to the people that control the ego, which is the economy, which the ego is consistently tantalized by consumerism. So you are already prostrated to something other than you. These things just try and teach you that there's something higher. Again, the heart. You say it in many different forms, but that's what God is. The love. It's a feeling, and when you know it, it will hit you, and you will know. Whether that means you have to take drugs to reinitiate yourself, or meditate deeply, abstain from things. But again, the abstinence thing, you have to go deep and secrete things in order to abstain from. Why are you doing that? Or it'll just kill you. Trying to abstain from certain addictions without slowly working through that process into desensitizing yourself back into a higher frequency. You cannot do it. You got to do it, slow process. I've been working on this now, spiritual practitioner now, for, I'd only say, for 3 or 4 years, solid, consistently, to get where I am now. I always spoke in a philosophical manner, but I didn't quite understand where that was coming from or why. Because as a kid, I was born like this. It was an intrinsic thing. It is in all of us, but some of us it's just more potent because some of us are sent here. We're not sent here like you think we're sent here, because it's not to think. You just know it's part of the phase wave of the transitioning. And it's like that energy comes through at that time as a part of what the whole thing is doing to help the extrication of it, which means to pull you out of it back into source. Because in the end, that's all there is, and that's where you revert back to. Some souls are trapped because when you die, I don't know if this is a theory, I just feel it, but when you die, it's almost like the soul can't escape what it thinks it is. So the thinking becomes a form of energy which encapsulates it. It encapsulates that energy, and sometimes it might retransition back through, because that energy didn't, as it was experiencing the body in this realm, thought that it was an objectified, individualized point of reference, only experiencing what it's experiencing itself, not other than what everything else is. So it went all its life operating like a predator, seeking constantly externally, not knowing that it was the whole thing the whole time. So when you die and you don't know this, you're not in a state of knowing. How can you go? Because the frequency is too high for you to leave. So the energy it stagnates, it becomes static. I'm just theorizing right now. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I just feel like that makes sense to me. How can the energy go? How can it transition back to source? Because we've all got a blueprint, unique energy. How can that possibly go back? It came here for a reason to begin with, to learn more of itself. It's like it's fractalized parts of itself, and for all the fractalized things which are all constituent anyway, in order for them to become more integral, they all have to be back into that congruent state. So we can all fly this ship together, and eventually either go back home, or we could have heaven on earth, complete utopian and egalitarian system where everything's distributed equally, where there's no lack, deprivation. They instill that anyway. There's an agenda. The agenda that I've been speaking of in this video instill that idea that there is lack and that you're in a state of scarcity. Wherever there's scarcity is a frequency of loss. So you will attract that. You will reverberate and reciprocate that energy back in, becoming your reality. That's why homeless people, I don't give them money anymore, because knowledge is more and wisdom is more potent, because that could change their life. A pound, I'm from Sheffield, England, £1 or several pounds won't change their life anymore. It's not going to do it. Whatever they've habitualised, you're just fueling that by giving it money, which is a form of currency, which is energy, the wrong energy. So guys, this has been quite a long-winded video. Hopefully you kept watching it, and if you didn't, you won't hear me say goodbye. But it's all about love. This is Capricorn King here, and right now I'm all out. Love you guys, thank you.